Darry of Castle Darry is a noble house of the Riverlands, long counted among the more powerful and distinguished families that call the Trident home. For generations they've stood as staunch supporters of House Targaryen, though their fortunes declined sharply after the fall of the dragons during Robert's rebellion. Their sigil bears a black plowman upon a brown field. Though their house words are unrecorded in the histories of Westeros, the Darrys were once known for their loyalty, wealth and standing among the Riverlords. Castle Darry lies south of the Trident, roughly half a day's ride from the river, according to accounts in A Game of Thrones. Later descriptions likewise place it on the southern side of the Trident. In later histories and maps, Darry is situated near Lord Harroway's town and the Ruby Ford, not far from the King's Road, placing it in an important position along one of the realm's chief routes of travel. Though it should be noted we do not have an exact location for Darry. Darry is a modest castle, composed of stout walls, a gatehouse and ramparts, stables and a small central yard. Though not a grand castle by the standards of the great strongholds of the realm, it remains a respected seat for one of the oldest riverlords. The family's residence lies within Plowman's Keep, a tower overlooking the castle's godswood. Beneath it stretches an ancient vault, hidden below the stone foundations. Across the yard stands the Great Hall, smaller than the more powerful lords, with a smoke-darkened rafters above tightly packed trestle tables. Nearby lies the audience chamber, where the Lord's high seat stands at the far end. Just beyond the inner ward stands the Sept of Castle Darry, a seven-sided half-timbered building crowned with tiled roofs. Its carved wooden doors open onto a dim interior without windows, where images of the Seven rise above finely carved altars. House Darry traces its origins back to the age when the Andals first swept into the Riverlands and overthrew the ancient petty kingdoms of the First Men. During those wars, 3 sons of Lord Darry famously held the Widow's Ford against the Andal forces of Vorain Vipen, fighting until they were all slain. In later centuries, another Lord Darry also died in the wars between House Teague and the Storm King Arlen III Durrandon, another chapter in the long and blood-stained history of the Riverlands. We don't hear much of House Darry until after Aegon's conquest. However, many assume they were among the Riverlords who supported Aegon during this time, rising against Harren the Black. After King Maegor the Cruel destroyed House Harroway in 44 AC, he divided their lands among those lords who remained loyal to him. Harrenhal was granted to Sir Walton Towers. Lord Harroway's town passed to Lord Alton Butterwell, and the remaining Harroway lands were bestowed upon Lord Donald Darry. Years later, during the Golden Wedding between Green Regent Alyssa Velaryon and the hand of the King Rhaegar Baratheon in 49 AC, a Lord Darry spoke in high praise of King Jaehaerys Targaryen, honouring the boy king during these celebrations. House Darry stood firmly behind Rhaenyra Targaryen and the Black faction during the Targaryen Civil War, the Dance of the Dragons. Their forces helped Daemon Targaryen seize Stonehenge, though later Lord Darry, Lord Root, and Sir Oswell Woade were defeated by Sir Criston Cole along the banks of the God's Eye. The vengeance that followed was severe. Prince Aemond Targaryen descended upon Castle Darry atop Vhagar, burning the castle and surrounding countryside. Lady Darry and her children survived by sheltering beneath the keep, but the Lord and his heir died defending the battlements. Even after this devastation, the Darrys continued to fight for the Black faction. Lord Derek Darry took part in the Second Battle of Tumbleton, while Lord Ronald Darry later fell to Lord Boros Baratheon in the Battle of the King's Road. During the regency of King Aegon III that followed the ending of the dance, Sir Damon Darry marched with Sir Regis Groves against the followers of Alice Rivers, the Witch Queen of Harrenhal. When Groves was slain, Damon was forced to retreat back to Darry. In later years, Rosmond Darry attended the Maiden Days Ball in King's Landing, and members of the house joined the host of Sir Robert Rowan in support of Sir Joffrey Arryn in the Vale. Darrys remained loyal to House Targaryen throughout the generations. During the first Blackfyre Rebellion, they were a key supporter of King Daeron II against Daemon Blackfyre. One Lord Darry famously destroyed the Black Dragon sign of an inn called the Clanking Dragon, seeing in it the hated emblem of the Blackfyres. Sir Desmond Darry later appeared at the tourney at Ashford Meadow, where his heraldry was noted among the assembled knights by Sir Duncan the Tall. Another famed member of the house, remembered as Dermot of Darry, rose to become Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, while the old song of Lord Dermond at the Bloody Meadow may also tell of a Darry lord. In later generations, Norbert Vance and Brendan Tully both served as squires to a Lord Darry. During the reign of King Aerys II, Ser Willem Darry held the office of Master at Arms at the Red Keep, and when Prince Rhaegar Targaryen resolved to become a warrior, it was Ser Willem who armed and trained him. Little princess, there you are. Come to me, my lady. You're home now, you're safe. Willem Darry to Daenerys Targaryen in a vision at the House of the Undying, a clash at Kings chapter 48, Daenerys 4. Sir Willem Darry was staunchly loyal to House Targaryen. By the end of his life, he was a grey bear of a man who was half blind and walked with the aid of a stick. He had a gruff, kind voice and a big, wrinkled hands, soft as old leather. Daenerys Targaryen remembers him as gentle, a sweet old bear who roared orders at the servants from his sickbed, but was always kind to her. We also know of a Ser Jonothor Darry, who served as a member of King Aerys II's Kingsguard, continuing the Darrys' long tradition of loyalty to House Targaryen. During Robert's Rebellion, House Darry were one of the very few Riverlords to remain loyal to King Aerys, standing not only against Robert Baratheon, but their own liege lord, House Tully of Riverrun. After the Battle of the Bells, Ser Jonothor Darry and his fellow Kingsguard knight, Sir Barristan Selmy, were dispatched to Stony Sept to gather the shattered remnants of Jon Connington's defeated loyalist army. Jonothor later rode with Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and the royal army to the Battle of the Trident. There he fell in battle, one of the Kingsguard slain in the final struggle against the rebels. The losses to House Darry were heavy, with Ser Raymond Darry losing his 3 elder brothers in the same battle. In the final days of the war, Ser Willem Darry remained steadfast to the fallen Targaryen dynasty. After the deaths of King Aerys II during the sack of King's Landing and Queen Rhaella upon Dragonstone during childbirth, the remaining garrison considered handing over the young Prince Viserys and infant Daenerys over to the new King Robert Baratheon. Before any decision could be made, however, Ser Willem acted. With 4 loyal companions, he stole into the nursery under the cover of night and carried the children away from Dragonstone, escaping across the narrow sea to Braavos before Stannis Baratheon could take the island. In Braavos, Willem sheltered the last Targaryen heirs in a house remembered for its red door. During their exile, Prince Oberyn Martell visited them, and in the presence of the Sea Lord of Braavos, a secret pact was made, promising that Viserys Targaryen would one day wed Princess Arianne Martell in exchange for Dornish support in restoring him to the Iron Throne. Yet exile wore heavy upon the old Ser Willem. When Daenerys was still a young child, he fell victim to a wasting sickness and slowly declined. After his death, the household servants stole what little wealth remained, and Viserys and Daenerys were cast out into the streets, left to survive on their own in a foreign land. The fall of House Targaryen proved disastrous for the Darrys. In defeat they lost half of their land, much of their wealth, and nearly all of their influence they had once held in the Riverlands. House Darry still remains one of the loyalist houses that the exiled Viserys Targaryen believed would rally to his cause should he ever return to Westeros to press his claim for the Iron Throne. How true this belief is questionable at best. During King Robert Baratheon's journey through the Riverlands, on the way home from Winterfell, while searching for Arya Stark and the butcher's boy, Micah, the royal party takes shelter at Castle Darry, a reminder that despite their diminished fortunes, the Darry still retain their ancestral seat, which is a kind of punishment that many of the rebel lords would expect. When the War of the Five Kings begins in the Riverlands, Ser Raymond Darry is called to Riverrun by Sir Edmure Tully, along with the strength of House Darry. Ser Raymond's 3 older brothers all had died fighting for the Targaryens in the Battle of the Trident. As Sir Gregor Clegane ravaged the countryside, Lord House Tully sends Raymond, together with Sir Mark Piper and Sir Carl Vance, to carry news of the attacks to the Iron Throne. Raymond later rides with Lord Beric Dondarrion in the expedition sent to bring Gregor to justice. The force is instead ambushed at the Mummers Ford by Gregor and the Lannister army, and Raymond is slain in the fighting. Some accounts also claim that the Lord of Darry, Raymond's father, died in this same battle. After Robb Stark's victories in the Riverlands, Mark Piper and Carl Vance return to Riverrun with Raymond's young son, Lyman Darry, now lord of his house. Lyman is present when Robb Stark is proclaimed king in the north, and swears that he will never name a Lannister his king. When Robb Stark, now king of the North and the Trident, grants the Riverlords leave to return to their own lands, young Lord Lyman rides back to Darry. His return proves tragically brief. Soon after his arrival, Sir Gregor Clegane descends upon Darry once again, slaughtering Lyman and his entire garrison. Only 8 years of age, Lyman is remembered as the last true-born male heir of House Darry. Before the Battle of the Fords, Catelyn Stark notices men of House Darry still present among the Riverlord host gathered near Riverrun, proof that some remnant of the house continues to fight despite the loss of their lords. Castle Darry itself later falls under siege and is surrounded by Sir Helman Tallhard, yet even then, mercy is denied. Roose Bolton sends word from Harrenhal claiming that Robb Stark has ordered the garrison executed and the castle burned after its capture. Following the Battle of the Blackwater, King Joffrey Baratheon grants the lands and titles of House Darry to his cousin Ser Lancel Lannister, establishing a new branch of House Lannister known as House Lannister of Darry. The grant comes despite the existing living Darry bastard cousins and is widely seen as a reward engineered by Lord Tywin Lannister in honour of his brother Kevin, Lancel's father. As the Northmen abandoned Castle Darry, the seat fell into the hands of broken men and outlaws. To restore order, Sir Kevin Lannister dispatches Sir Harwin Plum, known as the Hardstone, to drive them out and reclaim the castle. Seeking to strengthen the Lannister hold on the Darry lands, Kevin arranges the marriage of his son Lancel to Amory Frey, whose mother carries Darry blood and stood amongst the heirs of the castle in the female line. Amory arrived with a sizable retinue of Freys, including her mother, Muriah, and several other Frey Darrys. Under Lancel, the arms of the new House Lannister of Darry combined the line of the Lannisters with the Darry Plowman. Quartered. Kevin aided the rebuilding of the damaged seat, though he eventually departed, growing dismayed by Lancel's increasing religious fervour. On the march towards Riverrun, Jaime Lannister and his companions spend a night at Castle Darry. He recalls that years earlier, during King Robert's journey north to Winterfell, he and Tyrion had uncovered hidden tapestries depicting Targaryen kings, proof that the Darrys had remained loyal to the dragons long after Robert's victory. Jenna Lannister later remarks that Darry, though less grand than Riverrun, would have made a far safer holding for her husband Aemond Frey, especially now that the true male line of House Darry was extinguished.